Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chantel and today I am going to be laying out my plans for the third quarter of the year. So it's kind of a TBR-ish video that I do have been doing quarterly. Because I do like to have some kind of a list to pull from, and I enjoy drawing a few prompts from a prompt jar, but I don't necessarily feel like it's very productive for me to do one of these every single month, because for me the months just fly by really fast. So I have started doing these quarterly, because I feel like for me doing it a quarterly plan or list or TBR, pile of possibilities, whatever, that just works better with the pace at which I tend to read. So I'm gonna do that. So there's a few things that I'm definitely going to be trying to prioritize in quarter three, and then I will also be pulling some prompts from my beautiful little prompt jar, to give me a few possible titles, especially if I can pull something from my physical TBR shelf that is especially good. I always want to be reading books off of my physical TBR shelf to make sure that nothing is staying too long on that shelf. So I have a bunch of prompts here that hopefully will allow me to do that and pick a few titles off of that shelf, maybe. So first of all, I do want to talk about the things that I'm definitely going to be trying to focus on, and a lot of these are the same as they were last time because I didn't get to most of these in quarter two. Unfortunately, quarter two I ended up being, I guess, what the kids these days might call in a bit of a reading slump the past couple of months that I've only just started coming out of, and sort of resuming my normal pace of reading after a couple of months of just not really being there. So a lot of my quarter two plans did kind of fall through, and so I'm still sort of left with these projects that I still definitely want to get to and resume and work on. So the big one, of course, is my classic fantasy project. I still haven't touched it in a while, and I still definitely want to. So definitely on deck is Lilith by George MacDonald, and possibly some William Morris stuff. Because I've just been falling flat on my face, especially when it comes to classics and older stuff. I really haven't read many classics so far this year, and I really want to, and I want to have them be part of this project that I'm trying to do for myself and sort of expand my knowledge of the fantasy genre. So I really want to do that. And yeah, so that's definitely like something that I really, really want to put on deck and make sure I'm getting to in this next quarter. I think it's just kind of easy for me to put it out of my mind simply because I don't own any of the titles. I have to get them from my library, and many of them I have to get them in the ebook form, which is fine. I don't have a problem reading ebooks or anything like that. It's just that when it's in ebook form, it's really easy for me to just forget about it, right? If it's not a physical book that's sitting on a shelf that I'm staring at all the time, it's just really easy for it to just go out of my brain and for me to not think about it. And then before I know it, 3 months have passed and I just haven't read anything else. So yeah, I gotta try to be better about that. I have to be better about that. My library has most of these books. I can check them out at any time and read them. So it's just a matter of me remembering that and prioritizing it. So that is definitely a thing that I'm going to be trying to do in the third quarter. In quarter three, I would also like to get to the next volume of the History of Middle-earth, which again, I think it's been easy for me to forget about it because I have to buy it before I can read it, and I just haven't bought it yet. And I think that's one of those things where I have to get off my butt and actually order a copy of it, and so that I can start reading it. Discworld, my Discworld reading, I have no excuse for. I have many of the books right here behind me. I just need to grab the next one. I'm pretty sure the next one I have to read is Eric. But you know, I just have to do it at some point. And again, that shouldn't be hard. They're not long books, and I enjoy them. I don't know, for some reason, it's just not been front of mind for me in the past few months. So those are big ones that I just really need to get back to. And I do plan to continue Realm of the Elderlings as well. That is the one series that I have actually been keeping up with. But I do still have one more trilogy, the Fitz and the Fool trilogy, and yeah, I plan to at least start it in Q3. So that is definitely a thing that I'm going to be doing as well, because I would like to finish that by the end of the year. So that Historathon, I don't know that I really have anything in particular on deck for Q3 of Historathon. I have quite a few history nonfiction books on my physical TBR shelf, but I don't think any of them are like Q3 reads, really. I might be able to find something that I could sort of sneak into as a Q3 read, because it maybe partially covers Q3. But most of what I have on my shelf is actually Q4 stuff. So, but I would like to read more nonfiction, and I have a fair amount of nonfiction that I am really sort of chomping at the bit to read soon. So it may not be Historathon, but I will probably be reading some more nonfiction in Q3, even if it doesn't really fit well with Historathon. But I do have some really, really good nonfiction reads that I'm very much looking forward to. So there's that too. So yeah, that's my general thoughts and priorities for Q3. Again, I think a lot of it is just, I've been in a slump. I'm finally coming out of the slump, and now I just kind of want to read all the things, and I want to get back on track with the projects that I intended to do this year and then just kind of fell by the wayside because of other things and me being slumpy. So I want to be not slumpy anymore and get back to things. So that is going to be my priorities really for Q3. Though again, this month I have been doing much better. I've really gotten back on the wagon, so to speak, and I've been reading a lot this month. So hopefully I can keep up the momentum now for the rest of the year, because I really want to. I want to be at this, at this pace that I've been at for this month. I want that pace to be the pace that I'm at for the rest of the year. So we're really hoping for that. And one of the things that I'm hoping will help me to do that will be to draw a few prompts from the prompt jar. I've been doing 5. I think 5 is probably good. I don't have a ton of prompts in here, so I think 5 is probably a good number to keep doing. This just gives me some titles that I can be like, okay, yep, this is what I want to do. And maybe some of these prompts I'll pick more than one title for. Some of them are pretty broad and allow me to pick quite a few different titles for, and some of them are a little bit more specific. So we'll just see what I get. I put a few back in from last month, but if I get any of them, I might just put them back and draw again because I don't know that I want any repeats quite so soon. But let's try one here. Oh my gosh, I keep getting like a bunch at a time. This one is out of my comfort zone. I'm not sure if I want to go out of my comfort zone when I've been so slumpy recently. But if I have something on my TBR shelf that feels a little out of my comfort zone, I will go and look and see if I have something that might qualify, that I would want to give a shot. So I will check that out. So I think I found something that would qualify as being a little bit outside my normal comfort zone, and that is We Were 8 Years in Power by Ta-Nehisi Coates. This is an essay collection, which is a big part of why I feel like it's out of my comfort zone. I tend not to read a lot of essays for fun. I've read a lot of essays when I was in academia. When I was in grad school, I wrote a lot of essays. But since getting out of academia, I really haven't done a lot of essay reading. And I was actually, just the other day, I was watching a bit of an interview with Ta-Nehisi Coates on YouTube that he'd done with Chris Hayes. And I was struck once again, I've seen him in a couple of interviews before, and I was struck once again by just how eloquent and how intelligent he is, and how easily he speaks to the current moment in American politics. And this book of essays is a lot of that, right? It's a lot of speaking to the current moment in American politics. The quote that is the title of this book, We Were 8 Years in Power, was actually a quote from the Reconstruction period, post-Civil War, and it was a lament of the African Americans in the South who had a brief moment after the Civil War where they were able to actually, elect Black congresspeople and were able to somewhat exercise power in the South. And then the Supreme Court laid down a bunch of decisions, and a lot of repression happened, and then we entered Jim Crow, right? And so I think what he's speaking to in this is the legacy of the Obama administration, and how in some ways that has led to our current political debacle in the United States. Again, I think, Coates is he's very smart. He's very well read. He knows his history. He knows his cultural theory. And so, and I've just been feeling some recent political developments in the United States have just made me feel like I want to be more informed about it. And luckily I did have this book just sitting on my TBR shelf. So, yeah, I will see if I can get to this in Q3. Again, nonfiction, essays, out of my comfort zone a little bit, but something that I think it will be very worthwhile. All right, let's try another one. Maybe I'll do 6 prompts this time. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. Maybe 6 prompts for 3 months. That's 2 books a month. That might work. I want to get a good one. Big money, no whammies kind of situation. Do I say that every time? I probably do. A great first sentence. I'm pretty sure I've done this one, but not last quarter, so a great first sentence. I gotta find a couple books that maybe have a good first sentence and see what I can find. This is gonna take a little while. It requires some work on my part. Okay, so I've picked 3 books, and I'm gonna read the first sentence and just see what I get. 2 of these are continuations of series, and 1 is a standalone. So, because that's another thing I want to try to be better at, is keeping up with the series. So, let's see here. So first up, I have Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. Let's see what this first sentence says. I paused on the threshold of the shop to stamp the frost from my boots. Not a particularly interesting first sentence. It doesn't necessarily speak to anything about the quality of the book overall, but not a particularly interesting first sentence. Next one is The Hexologist, A Tangle of Time by Josiah Bancroft. This is a sequel to The Hexologists, which I really enjoyed. Let's see if I can get a good one out of this one. While this wasn't the first time Isolde Wilby had broken into a shop, it was perhaps her most spontaneous invasion. Okay, that's a little more interesting, though still I would say not especially amazing. But there we go. So that one I would say is probably better than Agnes Aubert. And then I have Harrow the Nights by Tamsin Ware. Again, it's a sequel. Let's see. Your room had long ago plunged into near complete darkness, leaving no distraction from the great rocking thump, thump, thump of body after body flinging itself onto the great mass already coating the hull. Well, that sounds interesting. Yeah, I think this one's probably the winner of those three. So I will try to put Harrow the Ninth on my TBR for quarter three. So that's 2 down. Let's see if we can get another good one here. Start a series. Well, that's great. That's really what I need, is to start another series right now. But I do have a couple of first books in series sitting on my physical TBR shelf, so I'll go see which one I feel like starting. So my eye was just immediately drawn to Hilary Mantel's Wolf Hall, which has been on my physical TBR shelf for a while now. This is, of course, the start of her historical series about Thomas Cromwell. And, you know, I've heard lots of good things about it. I do like a good historical fiction once in a while, something that's rich with detail and with historical flourishes. So, you know, to me, this is kind of, you know, probably a good way to go. It's pretty long, but it's not as long as some of the other first in the series I've got. It's a little over it's about 600 pages long, which is a chunk, but it could be worse. But, you know, I don't mind reading a nice chunk. Again, especially if it's very well written. This literally won the Man Booker Prize, so it's gonna be good. And I am looking forward to it. And again, I haven't had much good historical fiction in my life lately, so why not? Also, I belatedly realized that I forgot to mention that I will be reading Mansfield Park for Jane Austen July. That's the only Jane Austen July thing that I plan to actually do. But I haven't read Mansfield Park before. It's actually the only Jane Austen novel that I haven't read. So I'm going to be doing that. That'll be in July. All right, number 4. This is number 4. Oh, nonfiction. All right, I can do some more nonfiction. That's fine. I'm always wanting to do more nonfiction. So, and I definitely have some good nonfiction books on my shelf waiting for me to get to them. So let's go see what I got. All right, so I've got a lot of great nonfiction on my physical TBR shelf right now, but the one that really sort of drawn my eye and that I've really been thinking about wanting to read now pretty intensely is Sick and Dirty, Hollywood's Gay Golden Age and the Making of Modern Queerness by Michael Koreski. It's, you know, we're almost to the end of Pride Month, but it is Pride Month. And, you know, I recently was able to attend a screening of the documentary film The Celluloid Closet, which is based on the Vito Russo book of the same name. It was made in the 90s. And they recently did a new 4K restoration of it for its 30th anniversary. And, you know, it's a really interesting documentary, and it really does some good things, at least it did for, you know, being the mid-90s. But I really do feel like this book might make a really good follow-up and interrogation of the kinds of things that are being talked about in the Celluloid Closet. So, yeah, I've really been wanting to read this one, so this is what I'm going to be putting on my list for nonfiction for quarter 3. Hopefully I'll be reading some other nonfiction as well, but this one is one that I'm going to want to be prioritizing. All right, number 5. Prompt number 5. Let's see what we got here. So I feel like I'm getting a really good eclectic mix of books this time around, which is very pleasing to me. Oh gosh. Lowest rated on TBR, on my TBR. So this one's gonna require some research on my part, honestly, because I don't know off the top of my head what would be the lowest rated book that's currently on my TBR. I would need to check. That's an interesting question. I didn't even know that was in my jar. You know what? I'm gonna skip that one this time and redraw. I make the rules here. I don't feel like doing all that work to figure that out right now. So I'm just gonna skip it and draw a different one. What's this one say? Knights and Paladins. Oh God. Oh, that might not be coming out until September. I'd have to double check. So Knights and Paladins. The only thing I can think off the top of my head is that I do have T. Kingfisher's follow-up to Sword Heart, which is called Daggerbound, on pre-order. I don't remember if that comes out in August or September, but it is on pre-order, so I will be getting it. So that could be one that I read. I'm not sure I have any others off the top of my head that are like on my physical TBR that would fit the prompt of Knights and Paladins, except maybe like Harrow the Ninth, which is already on my TBR. So we'll say, for now, we'll say tentatively Daggerbound, maybe Harrow the Ninth for that prompt. And then let's just do one more prompt, number 6, for funsies, because why not? See if we can get something good and interesting on here. A new to me author. That's always good. I always like, I always like introducing myself to new authors. So I have a couple of new to me authors already on my TBR, but let's go see if I can find something else that's on my physical TBR shelf that would be a new to me author. Let's try a standalone sci-fi. So I have here The Deep Sky by Yumi Kitase. I've heard very good things about this book, and I don't really have much sci-fi already on my list for the quarter. And I always read plenty of fantasy. That's never a problem for me, but sometimes I have a hard time getting into other genres. Sometimes I fall really quickly into the fantasy rabbit hole and have a hard time coming back out of it to read other genres that I like. So let's try this. This is a standalone sci-fi. I don't even remember exactly what it's about. The Generation Ship, I think. So yeah, I got this used for relatively cheap. So yeah, standalone sci-fi novel sounds perfect for a quarter 3 read. So that's what we've got. So to recap, for quarter 3, I'll be reading Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. I have it. Here it is. Mansfield Park by Jane Austen is definitely a thing that I'm going to be reading in July. This is going to be my Jane Austen July read. It's the group read for this year's Jane Austen July. It's the only Jane Austen novel I've not yet read. So that'll be interesting, I think. And then I will be trying to prioritize my classic fantasy. So I'll be trying to read some more George MacDonald and some William Morris, at least in quarter 3. So stay tuned for that. And I'll also definitely be starting the Fitz and the Fool trilogy by Robin Hobb, and I hope to get to some Terry Pratchett and some Tolkien in quarter 3, because I haven't done much of that yet either. And then for my 6 prompts for the quarter, I have here a very interesting, eclectic group of books. yeah, so First Sentence and possibly Knights and Paladins, Harrow the Ninth, start a series, Wolf Hall, Out of My Comfort Zone, We Were 8 Years in Power, nonfiction, Sick and Dirty, and what was this again? A new to me author, right? New to me author, The Deep Sky, and possibly Daggerbound also for the Knights and Paladins prompt. So that is what I've got. Hopefully I will be able to get, hopefully I will remember to get to all of these titles in quarter 3. We'll see. Again, my problem is not that like I don't have, like that I run out of time or that or anything like that. It's just that sometimes I just literally forget, especially when I get really slumpy and sick, and then get the brain fog or work gets really busy, and then it just kind of flies out of my head. So hopefully having most of these books already in my hands, I'll be able to be like, okay, this is the stack of books that I need to make sure I'm reading from. And yeah, we'll get to that. We'll see. So that is my quarter 3 plans, pile of possibilities, whatever. Hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know what some of your reading plans are for the coming months in the comments. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.